And welcome back to another BobBlast. Hi, I'm Bob Burridge, and this one is all about the horizon line. Where do I put the focal point? I've been asked that question. Well, first of all, on the horizon line. And for instance, sometimes they're pretty obvious. I mean, for me, a focal point is any place your eye stops. I'd say just by itself, all that isolation, your eye stops right there. This happens to be the cantilever composition where you have a whole lot of something going on over here and one little focal point over here. Okay, based on that, I do a lot of my abstract landscapes the same way. Obviously, it would be like a sailboat, would be a focal point. Some of them are pretty obvious, but it's right on the horizon line. When you have a low horizon line, well, it could be anything that's isolated by itself. It stops your eye. I call them speed bumps. Here's the tunnel vision. Well, obviously, where your eye is going to stop will be the part that has the most contrast. It just does. Where you don't want your eye to stop, but you're going to have more of a softer look, more out of focus, foggy, but your eye is always going to go here. Or where it's by itself. Here's another focal point. Moving over here to the other side of the wall, it gets to be more abstract. Sometimes you just have a focal point would be the complementary color. Obviously all greens, different kinds of greens, but still look where your eye goes, the complementary color. Pretty loose painting. Speaking of loose, I'm doing a series called 30,000 feet. You know, when you're in a jet, looking straight down, and you see all those beautiful plains in the fields, farmers' fields, building looking straight down, silos. And I started seeing that as an abstract painting, and now I'm doing a whole series of looking straight down at 30,000 feet. And like this one, this would be all different kinds of greens. And again, their eye is going to go to the red barn or the building or one of those spots that's different from everything else. Pretty obvious which one's the most different. Again, the focal point. So whether it's an abstract painting or some things that are pretty obvious, you know, I'm going to do a couple of warm-ups and show you how much fun it is to start off with a landscape, and then you can decide if you want to where to put the focal point. Let's get started. So today I'm going to start off in the studio with warm-ups. I never start off on the big one, even though I'm pretty excited to work on the big one. But it's really nice to do some stretching exercises. You know, it's like your Pilates. Got to stretch a little bit, do those shoulder rolls, and then you get into painting. Well, I do the same thing, but only with smaller warm-ups. And they're great fun. I haven't spent a whole lot of time, and the learning curve is fantastic. Hey, and you end up with a couple of pretty nice paintings too at the same time. So, I mean, sometimes, you know, the focal point is pretty obvious. I mean, in here, it's all red, and the focal point for my color wheel would be this blue. Bam! So you start off that way. It's a great way to start off. I mean, just being as loose as you possibly can. But then when we start doing something more recognizable, like these 4 little warm-ups, I love doing these. But I tape them together, so that way I don't lose them, you know, when I'm working on a series. But I want to put them on top of each other so it's easier for you to see. There we go. So now these are 10 inches by 10 inches watercolors, on watercolor paper rather. These are my acrylics. These are the Holbein acrylics. I love, you know, if you've been watching these, you know how much I love acrylics. I already have them out, little spots of the color, not to waste time here, but to get into painting. Okay, so there they are, and my white, and some black, and there's the hot pink, that's the opera, green, the Hansa yellow, ultramarine blue. They're basically red, yellow, blue, and some white and some black. So here's my really loose landscapes, and I basically paint these with paper towels. You've seen me do those in some of the other workshops and BobBlasts, and then I just paint with paper towels. That's how I get my clouds, by the way. All right, and then real simple horizon line. Now these, the composition, it's all the low horizon line. right? Remember, it can either be a low horizon line or high horizon line, not in the middle, all right? Because it's neither nor. So here, a low horizon line, which means it's really a painting of the sky. Duh, right? So that's what I've chosen on these 4 warm-ups. Different kinds of blues. And because they're small and I'm using a paper towel, you can just really play and have a great time with a paper towel. You don't have to worry about what size brush did I use. These paper towels and your fingers. It's great. Remember, you're here to loosen up, not to tighten up. All right, and to see something that you've never seen yourself ever having done before, that's the best part. No, whoa, I've never seen myself doing that. So I'm going to be pretty obvious on some of these where I want to put a focal point. And for me, in this one right here, the focal point is just going to be a color. It's just going to be a color. I'm going to use a little bit of opera on here. Put it over here up the side. Don't put it in the middle, but I'm going to put it off here to the golden section. There we go. Just a little bit of a color. I'm even going to put some yellow right in top of that. Oh, see? Because it's so different, your eye stops right there. I'm even going to give it some more contrast. That's another way of getting some focal points. Contrast. And maybe a couple of these over here. Trees, whatever they are. Don't spend too much time on it. Remember, they're supposed to be loose. So it's pretty obvious on some of these. And that's what I really want to get across. On this one, I'm just going to have what's going to be the focal point will be a shape. Something that breaks the horizon line. It could be people, it could be boats. They could be just abstract shapes like that. And your eye still goes there. You can come back in later on with color. Here's one that's a little village down here in the cove. Really dark. A bit of a shadow, but really dark down in this area. It's the only part that has a little contrast like that. It's nice moody. Let's do another one here. Put some spikes on it. We don't know what it is, but they're building tops. And if you wanted to come in with color at this point and really have some super fun. It just makes no sense, but it's nice and light. I like some of this. Because it's so small, you're going to be painting all over the place, and it really encourages you to loosen up. And use big brushes also, not just these tiny little ones here. But this was a short video I just wanted you to see about putting a focal point. It could be no focal point. That means it's kind of a soft, nice, gentle view of the landscape. But I want to have a point of view. And usually it shows a spot, usually near the water, usually near the beach, the cliffs, and the windswept fields is what I kind of like to do in a very loose way. But still make sure there's one spot where the eye goes and stops and says, wow, I want to be there. I want to be there. So I paint places I'd like to go and stay in my own studio. Yay! Hey, I hope you had fun with this one and do a whole lot of these. All of a sudden, at the end of a month, you're going to have like 100 little paintings of landscapes with a focal point. Hey, I'll see you at the next BobBlast. Thanks for watching.